2020 DIC budget. Remember that this is the Dr. Island Club budget. It has nothing to do with the DIOA, so when I talk about the budget, I'm talking about the club budget, not the budget of everything that is involved. Although my name is up there, DIC treasurer, this is a product of a lot of people. Ted, Lori, the entire DIC board, all the department heads that contributed to putting together the budget. It's a monumental effort. And well, as I say, when one name is up there, there's a lot of input that's gone into this presentation. And the Finance Committee. We're going to mention the Finance Committee. Okay. Our agenda. First, we're going to take a look at our projected 2019 results. And we're going to take a look then at the budget process. You know, what is the process of putting together a budget? It's comprised of membership data, base dues and amenity fees that come from the membership data, the cost center budget, and then we're going to talk about settlement funds, and talk about the capital budget after that, and go into an end reserves, and then at the end we'll have questions and answers. And I'd appreciate if you'd hold your questions and answers until the end so we can get through this. It's only going to be about a 3.5-hour presentation. Someone brought lunch. I saw a brown bag here somewhere. We should be out of here in about 45 minutes, depending upon questions and answers. Okay, starting off with some good news. 2019 was a great year. Sports amenities did well in 2019. Golf participation is approximately 50% of all homeowners. Tennis 15%, croquet 8%. So over 60% of homeowners participated in a sports amenity. And that doesn't include bocce. Obviously there's been a great interest in bocce that's occurred over the last year. And if we add pickleball to that down the road, I think we'll exceed that 60% participation. And that's a really good thing. We want participation on this island. We want people to participate in sports amenities. The DIC gained 13 net resident members and 5 net country club members through October. Real estate sales continue to be strong. What did I do? Keep going. All right. There we go. Okay. Real estate sales continue to be strong. There are 57 homes were sold year to date. 5 are under contract and 16 lots are sold. Logan has sold 5 homes and 5 lots they continue to build on, and we can see there's other builders on the island also that are constructing homes. So building and activity has been strong. DIC financials. We look at the budget and projected for 2019. As you can see, almost $8 million right on the dot as far as the budgeted revenue and expenses. We exceeded revenue and we exceeded expenses, but we exceeded revenue more than we did expenses. So we have a favorable variance of $7,000 for the first time ever, and that's a good letter year. We're going to spend some time talking about terminology, and excuse me for a moment. I have the DATRA crud. Has anybody had the DATRA crud yet? Okay, well, those of you who had it know what it feels like, and those of you who haven't, I hope you don't get it. But the voice may falter just a little bit. Okay. We'll talk about Alcoa settlement funds. Many of you know this, but for some of the newer members, perhaps they are not as conversant. When Alcoa turned the assets over to the Data Island Club and exited, Data was awarded approximately $5.2 million in assets, $4 million in cash, plus the sales center, comprising the $5.2 million. So how do we use those settlement funds? Well, when Alcoa departed, the club was losing approximately $500,000 a year, or operating at a $500,000 deficit. The club would then use the Alcoa settlement funds to subsidize dues to cover any operating losses, so we wouldn't have to significantly increase dues during that period. Over the past 7 years, the club has managed to reduce the operating loss, and in 2019 and again in 2020, we are going to achieve break even. Membership task force. I'm an 11-year resident, and two things that I think were really important in the history of DATA. One was the development of the one island concept, where everybody who came on the island from a certain point in time became a member of the club. The other is the formation of this membership task force and the plan that emerged from that. Back in 2012, the board and management came together to review and recommend to the membership a structure that would ensure the long-term financial viability of the Data Island Club. The new model planned to have the DIC operating at break-even by 2020, and in fact we've exceeded or we've achieved that a year earlier. Three key elements to the plan. The base dues would be increased no more than 5% until we reach break-even, and we use the settlement funds to subsidize to make sure that that happened. Secondly, expenses would increase at a target of 2.5% adjusted for revenue increases. Obviously, the more revenue you generate, the more expenses you generate, so that would increase. And very importantly, the cafeteria-style amenities program was developed, providing unlimited and various package levels so that we can include more people in our amenities and have them involved in the activities of the club. So that it wasn't an all or nothing kind of thing, that they could pick and choose and we would have a cafeteria-style approach. The members overwhelmingly approved the new plan in 2013 by a plurality of more than 90%. More terminology, reserve funds. 13,500 of the 17,500 initiation fee and a portion of the base membership dues. This year, we're proposing 55 per month out of your monthly dues are allocated to DIC reserve funds. Those funds are used for capital improvements and the renovation and renewal of our assets, which is very important that we do. The club can spend anywhere from $500,000 to as much as $2 million in a particular year on assets and on replacement of capital, depending upon what the needs are. If there's a significant issue that occurs that we need to replace a significant asset, we'll spend more. In other years, we'll spend less. We'll try to move them around so that we even it out as much as possible over the years. But that number is going to vary from year to year. The allocation of the $17,500 DIC initiation fee is $13,500 going to reserves directly, $2,000 to equity repayments, and $2,000 to the golf loan, which I believe gets paid off, Lori, somewhere around 25, 26. So we're closing in on that one. Now, let's talk about the budget process. How do we develop a budget? These are the members of the Joint Finance Committee. I serve as the DIC chair. Steve Webster, who's out there somewhere, I saw him before, is the DIOA treasurer, and we co-chair this committee. Lori and Ted Bartlett are the staff that also participate in every meeting. And we have membership, as you see in front of you. Each committee has a liaison member so that they are represented on the Finance Committee, so that there's a direct link between the various committees and the Finance Committee. We also have at-large members as well. The process. Expenses initially are developed by department heads. I used to love this process because we used to call that my departmental wish list. That's when they would come in with everything under the sun and request everything you could imagine. And then we have to go back and we have to temper those wishes and get them down to more reasonable numbers. But the wish list is important because the wish list makes us think about the future, what we might look toward in the future, what we might want to think about doing down the road 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And ultimately that might become part of our long-range plan. Anyhow, the wish list is reviewed and revised by management, and then it's further reviewed and revised by the committee chairs with Finance Committee liaison, as well as the DIC treasurer myself. Next it goes to the Finance Committee and is reviewed by the full finance committee, and we have a 4 or 5 hour meeting that, that involves those deliberations. And by the way, we look at each line item. We look at the papers, the pencils, the supplies, everything. Each line item is looked at carefully. The preliminary reviews are then made by the DIC board, which was done last month. And today, we do the membership review with you here today. The final review and approval by the board will be in December, later this month. The budget is built, one of the elements the budget is built on is membership data. And I think this is a pretty interesting slide because back when we talked about the task force being formed and implemented back in 2013, 732 homeowner members. Now we're looking at projecting 830 in 2020, almost 100. Home sites were 98 then, now they're 57 home site members. Obviously those members, many of those members built on their lots in those home sites. The total resident members back in 2013 were 830, and slowly but surely we're moving every year onward and upward and increasing our total resident members. Another important categories are these right here. Country club members, back in 2013 there were 54, now we're looking at 103. Dining members 55, 118, and renter members have trebled during that particular point in time also. Those numbers are important because that's revenue that goes almost all to the bottom line. That's revenue that helps us keep our dues in line and helps keep those numbers from escalating to a higher degree. That's been very positive revenue for us, and we continue to watch closely those memberships. Non-DIC members back in 2013, there were 117 of those, and we're down to looking at 73 at the end of 2020. And again, those are members who previously did not have to be members, but when they do leave, then the people who replace them, the new resident owners, must join the club, so that number decreases, and over time that will continue to decrease. Membership data. Taking a look at the projected amenities. What we try to do is try to figure out every year what we're going to experience as far as participation in the various amenities. And this is the unlimited category, and you can see they've been pretty much steady. And we're looking at not too much of an increase, but pretty steady state. Down maybe a little bit in tennis, but we think that might be better than that number might ultimately, that we're projecting right now. But again, pretty much steady state. As far as the packages are concerned, restricted, again, pretty much the same. Golf packages down just maybe a little bit. That's always a hard one to predict because there's a lot of changes that occur in that particular category. And the country club is expected to remain about the same. So the same amount of activity as far as the package activity that we experienced in 2009, we're kind of expecting in 2020. And as of right now, again, 50% of our residents are participating in golf in some way, shape, or form. Budget elements, other budget elements, revenue elements. Trail fees, $15.75 per year for those who elect a trail fee. Cart lease program of $19.75 per year for those who want to elect that. And again, our base dues are allocated to reserves out of that monthly fee, monthly dues that we have. $55 per month go to reserves. $30 go directly to the capital reserves and $25 to the cart path project. Key expense elements when you're putting together a budget. What are the key expense elements? Obviously wages and salaries. That's a big number. We have roughly, I think, 105, 107 full-time equivalents or 130 full-time, part-time people, and it's a huge expense. It takes a lot of people to run this place. We're expecting health insurance to increase by about 4% for 2020, workman's comp about 6%, property liability insurance somewhere between 3 and 5%. We're going to increase marketing by about 9% to make sure that we continue to try to attract people to this island. We're going to look at different options and opportunities to convey our message, both in print and on the net, and in various programs and shows that might occur for the year. It's important that we continue to try to attract the kind of people who we want to attract at DATO, those who will be active, those who will participate in our amenities, those who will be part of our community. And obviously, we want to help those who want to sell their homes when it's time to leave. Okay, base dues and amenity fees. We're looking at raising the base membership dues by $13 to $365 in 2020. Last year, $49 of that base membership due went to reserves. This year, we're looking to take that to $55. It's a total of 3.69% increase. Last year, we increased it 4.1, so we're a little bit below that. We've added a multi-generational fee this year for those individuals who wish to move in with member residents on a full-time basis, those family members who wish to move in on a full-time basis with family members. There will be a $75 per month fee per adult person for them to utilize the base amenities of the club. We think it's only fair that they participate in maintaining and updating and keeping those amenities fresh and well cared for. Undeveloped lots will stay the same at 2330. The difference being that this year, oops, I did it again. There we go. One more. I had it. I'm good at this, right? There we go. There we are. Bingo. All right. The difference being that I hit the pointer instead of the $588 were allocated to reserves from that last year. This year we're going up to $660. We continue to try to populate our reserves. It's very important we continue to add to our reserves. Okay. I'm not going to go through all the amenity dues because you've gotten those on the net already. You're probably signing up for your choices already this year. Generally speaking, we look at this is the unlimited category, and we also have the various rounds categories as well. Generally speaking, we're looking at a 2 to 4% or so increase, trying to keep the relative space between the options so that we have fairness and equity between them. And obviously, we'd like to incent people to play more and do more, if at all possible. The one difference is that we're going up on the restricted golf a bit more. We're finally, after 7 years now, getting to the point where the task force recommended that we have 75%, where the restricted golfers pay 75% of the unrestricted fee, and we are now going to be there. And from this point forward, they will go up probably in concert and consistent with our other packages. Renter dues are going to be increased by $25 per month. Renters also, as you know, may purchase sports amenities packages at the same rate as country club members. It's important to note that renters generate over $83,000 in revenue, or will generate $83,000 in revenue in 2019. And again, that helps keep our dues at a lower level. The budget cost centers, these are the main categories we're looking at. As you can see, club operations, food and beverage, and golf expense take the lion's share of those. other smaller ones. You'll see a big jump as far as the pool is concerned. The reason that is because we've had some comments and some concerns that pool utilization has not been appropriate, that there's some, that we have an excess of some country club members and other members using that particular amenity, and we want to make sure that we have the appropriate information so that we know whether or not that is the case. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be paying to staff somebody full-time, the staff the pool desk full-time from Memorial Day through Labor Day, so we'll have that information. Bottom line is break even. Once again in 2020, which is good news. And knock on wood, there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to achieve that. The budget cost centers, how we get to break even. You see the base dues. We have a slight favorable variance of $25,000. Golf is right on. Tennis is a little behind. Croquet is just a little behind, and it all comes out to break even as far as revenue as well as expense. I want to thank the entire staff, certainly again, for all the work that they did in putting this together. It's not an easy task. It's a difficult job. Anybody who's ever been to Lori's office and seen her filing system? She knows where it all is. It's amazing. It's amazing. So thanks to all. Let's talk about settlement funds. At the beginning of 2020, we estimate that there will be $1,883,000 in the settlement funds. None will be used during 2020, and we're projecting interest of $42,000, so we will actually gain as far as settlement fund balance is concerned. That's our rainy day fund. If we have a hurricane, or we have a disaster, or we have a problem, that's a pot of money we can go to. The initial intent was for that money to be used to subsidize dues if, in case we weren't able to break even. Well, if there's a big problem or a disaster, or an issue like that, that would subsidize dues, and as a result, we wouldn't have to perhaps assess for those kinds of costs. Again, no use of settlement funds in 2020. Now we'll move on to capital, the capital budget as well as reserves. Capital budget development process is pretty much the same as the development process of the operating budget. Department heads give us their wish list, and then we pare that down to what is doable and what is reasonable and what is needed in the immediate term. The GM and controller begin developing the capital budget requests. The GM presents those to the respective board committee chairs. Then it goes to finance for final review, and the DIC board will review and approve the final vetted capital requests again later this month. Where did capital reserves come from? Again, we'll review this. Again, base dues of the $365 that we will be paying on a monthly basis, $55 per month will be allocated to reserves. The country club members, $14 of their $215 monthly base dues are allocated to reserves, so some of their money goes to reserves as well. The initiation fee of $17.5, $13.5 goes to the capital reserve fund, and that's a big feeder of the reserve fund, obviously. If there are any member assessments for capital projects, that would go to the reserves, and any interest earned on the balance also goes to reserves. Capital reserves beginning balance, $2,519,000 at the beginning of 2019. The components from dues, $325,000. Initiation fee, we estimate $756,000. Earned interest and miscellaneous, $57,000. Capital expense, we're looking at spending $1,361,000 this year in capital. It's going to be a big capital year this year. Ending balance will be less than it was in the beginning, and that happens sometimes. Reserves kind of fluctuate. They go, some years you gain in reserves, some years you lose, you go down in reserves and spend more. But the important thing is that the trend in reserves continues on an upward pattern, and that's what has happened. DIC has over 19 million in depreciated assets that require maintenance and updating. It's $19 million in assets. It's a lot of stuff. And it's important that we keep this island and our assets and our amenities up to date and keep them at a quality and a caliber. And when people come to this island, they see a top-notch facility and they want to buy a house here because they see it's well managed and well cared for. Capital budget. These are the categories. Small things in the pro shop, that total about $6,000. Better Billy bunkers, $100,000. It's a bunkering system, for those of you who don't play golf, that we have begun and initiated. They are very maintenance friendly, and in the future, as we continue to implement the Better Billy bunker system, Better Billy bunker. Peter Potter picked it. This will help us with regard to maintenance costs. It's much easier to maintain. Golf maintenance roof, $101,000. What do we need a golf maintenance roof for? Because it leaks, that's why. And we have a lot of expensive equipment under that golf maintenance building, and it's important that we protect that equipment. That's one of those things where nobody sees it, nobody knows anything much about it. Maybe some people don't even know where it is, but we keep pushing it off, and pushing it off. Well, we can't push it off any further. It's time to do something about that, and this is the year we're going to do it. Golf course maintenance equipment, that's mowers and all the different things you see riding around on our golf courses getting ready for play in the morning. We're going to renovate the last two, the last two of the four golf course restroom renovations, and anybody who didn't think we needed those probably never visited them. They certainly were much in need of renovation, and it'll be good to get those finished as well. So that'll be done this year, and that'll complete that process. Some miscellaneous food and beverage equipment that we'll be replacing. Clubhouse administration, community center, sales center, building maintenance department, storage, pool, tennis, croquet, lumped together, $154,000. The big number there is $100,000 to level one of our croquet pitches. I don't play croquet, so I don't know the ins and outs of what's required, but I do know what's happening is on the edges, they're sloping down, and as a result, they are not really good qualified croquet pitches for tournaments. And in order to fix that, in order to repair that, it's going to cost us about $100,000 to do that. So it's a big expense, and we're going to take that on this year. That's, again, has been pushed off in the past. Last two items, Carolina ballroom refurnished, the room that we're sitting in here right now. If you look at some of your chairs, if you look at some of the furniture out there, the paint, some of the carpet, the draperies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, it's getting old and tired. It was, I think, 2002 was when we put this place together, and it's the original equipment. One of those things, again, we've pushed off year after year after year, and now it's time that we do something about that and bite the bullet and fix that. Pickleball courts, we've had the meetings with regard to pickleball courts. It's a $260,000 expense. Those two last items we are bringing to the membership for a vote because they exceed the $250,000 threshold that the board has as far as discretionary spending is concerned on capital, and it's appropriate that we do that. Okay, Carolina ballroom update and pickleball court installation. Again, will be voted upon by the membership. The ballroom has been planned for years. It's been in the reserve study schedule, and we pushed it forward. Pickleball installation has the support of 84% of the focus group, so we're going to take that forward, and there's going to be some meetings that are going to be begin tomorrow. Starting tomorrow, there'll be town halls where you'll be able to learn more and more about that plan and ask questions about the specifics with regard to it. Important thing, no assessment will be needed to require either of those to complete either of those projects. We have the funds and reserves to do that. That's why you reserve funds. Carolina Ballroom update. Again, we're talking about carpets, furniture, fixtures, equipment, walls, ceilings, window treatments, restrooms, etc., etc. Scheduled for a number of years. We push it forward. As I said, 2002 was when the original construction occurred, and this is pretty much as it is. It is now as it was. It's critical that we continue, that we maintain this facility because it brings in a lot of revenue. Baldwin is responsible for over $400,000 of club revenue annually. And as you drive in every Saturday and see whose wedding is occurring out there, the reason is because of not just the tree. And they don't come just for the tree, okay? Not just for the tree. They come for this. They come certainly for the ambience of our Carolina Ballroom, the food, the service that we provide. And it's important that we keep this a top-notch facility so we can be competitive and more than competitive with the local community with regard to those kinds of events. Carolina Ballroom update. These are the elements. Carpet, approximately $95,000. Furniture, fixture, and equipment. Restrooms, remodeling, walls, ceilings, etc. Total of $375,000 to do all of that. Pickleball, you see the elements there. Site prep, courts, hardscape, landscape furnishing, sound baffling, all those kinds of things that will make it a good partner in the community. They're going to cost about $260,000. Okay, in summary, another break-even year is anticipated. Home sales remain steady. Logan continues to build and sell homes on the island, as well as other builders. Just don't mention Logan. Membership will continue to increase. We're at 884 and continuing to grow. Golf amenities are operating at break-even or better again. Continue to focus on marketing of on our sports amenities. We want not only to market to prospective buyers our sports amenities, we want to market to our members sports amenities too. We want them to be participating and to do everything that we can to encourage them to participate in our amenities. Member resignations are minimal. That's a good thing. Those are the options to resign, and there's some that do, are not taking that option for the most part. And overall, DIC expenditures continue to meet expectations. DIC operates at a balanced budget, and no settlement funds will be used again in 2020. Questions, comments? Yes, ma'am.
I know that people could resign from the club when they initially set up the one island situation. Why do we continue to allow them to resign every so day?
Only those people who have the option at that point have the option. It's grandfathered. Only.
So there was never a cutoff date when they said like
No.
10 years to resign?
No, those people at that point in time who have resignation rights will retain resignation rights until the time they leave. Yes?
Where does Baji fit into this entire picture with regard to operating capital?
We didn't put any.
It's very minimal.
Yeah, it's a minimal expense. We'll have a full year experience with that, and probably next year we'll be able to better put some numbers in. We make a little bit of money on it, and there's a little bit of maintenance, and it basically covers the expense that we incur. The revenues cover the expense, the league fees cover the expense that we incur in order to maintain the courts. I know there's also a desire for another court, I hear, so we've been looking at that in our long-range planning in the future as well. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Are businesses utilizing the sales center paying rent?
I'm sorry.
Businesses that utilize the sales center, are they paying rent?
Yes. They do.
Dale, could you repeat the question?
Do businesses who utilize the sales center pay rent? And the answer is yes, they do. Yes.
Yeah, one thing, Dale, I just, a small thing, I noticed in the non.
You know everything, Bill, you're on the board.
There's something, this question I wasn't able to answer, is, on the DIC non-membership, I was surprised to see an increase from 2018 to 2019. I only got a factor, I mean, only by 2 people, but how does that happen?
Yeah, how did that happen?
The decrease or increase?
Increase, we had an increase from 18 to 19 by two. Is that, I don't know if that was a transposition error.
Resign.
Yeah.
No, it was an and.
It went from 73 to 75.
They resigned but didn't leave. So someone who lives here has the right to resign, chose to resign, so the number goes up.
No, it was the number of available resignations went up
Went up.
for the 1 year.
Available, that should
Yeah.
happen.
It went from 73 to 75, and I'm saying it should have gone down.
We're going to research that for you, Bill, and we're going to get you an answer. Yes.
Isn't that ballroom number up from the way it's been? Aren't we doing a much better job getting on site and everything?
The question is our revenues from the ballroom continuing to increase?
They were going down last time I saw.
They fluctuate depending on how many events we have.
Yeah, Lori said it fluctuates depending on how many events we have. Was this an up year or I would think it would be an up year, looking at all the wedding signs out there, that it would be, yeah.
Good for us.
Yeah, that's money that helps keep our dues as low as they are. Any other questions? Comments? Yes, sir.
First off, it's not a question, but I just want to commend you that you guys are doing a great job with this budget process, managing our money. The question I had is regarding pickleball. I'm assuming that the court build-out will be a year on that or so, but have you had any projections on that revenue and what the people who use pickleball will be charged?
I'm going to let our president, Ted Barber, who has been intimately involved with pickleball, answer that question.
We've done some estimates. We think that with the number of players that we'll have about 21,000 in revenue and about 19,000 in expenses for that. Of course, that's a projection. We don't know how many people are going to sign up and play. The more we have, the better, of course. But that's kind of what we're estimating. So we still have a year to go on this. If you as the members vote for us to spend that capital money to do that, we probably won't be ready to play pickleball until September of next year. It'll take that long to go through the permitting and construction process to do that. It's a good question. Thank you.
And am I correct, Ted, that during that remainder of the year, we'll be just getting a feel for what the interest level is and, yeah. Yes, sir.
The settlement funds. The settlement funds are to subsidize members' dues.
Correct.
Is there any way that that can be altered so that you can actually use those funds for something else?
That is what the settlement funds are designated to subsidize dues. That is my understanding. Lori, am I correct?
Yes, it's to make sure that if, like, we were to have a hurricane or some other storm, rather than assessing the membership, tacking on a dues for the membership, we could use those funds. You wouldn't want to use them for a project like the
Capital.
renovation of this room.
It's nice that we have those rainy day funds, frankly, that we didn't have to spend them all up in order to get to break even. That's again a great tribute to the people who were involved in that task force back in 2012. That was tremendous work.
If we were to use funds, the settlement funds to say build pickleball courts, it would be a taxable entity. It remains tax-free if it's used to offset member dues only.
So the only way you can use it is funds for hurricanes or something like that to subsidize membership dues?
Unless you want to pay taxes on it. Operating expenses, it's true, yes. because it offsets dues. But a new project, a newly conceived project, it would be taxable.
One other question.
Yes.
I have. I know the board looked at, looking at T surrounds for the golf course.
Yes,
And I noticed in your capital projects, there were nothing mentioned about T surrounds.
that's correct.
And wondered where that stood.
Okay. We
I'll
have,
take that
that's
one.
all right.
We started that process, we budgeted, or we allocated money this year for an architect to do those designs for improving the tees in general, but with a focus on the white and green tees, which are most in need of improvement. It will be the springtime of 2020 before we have that design from the architect. We anticipate that we would then go out and get sort of a cafeteria style bid and see what it's going to cost to do all the elements of that. And so the reality is we won't be starting that project probably until 2021. We thought about trying to do it at the very end of 2020 and splitting it across years, keep the cost down in each of the 2 years. The reality is trying to grow grass on redone tees in December is not a particularly good thing to be doing. So we're going to be looking to do that work in 2021. So we'll see that in next year's budget.
And that will be a voted project.
And that will be a voted project too, because it's likely to be at least $250,000 per course probably to do that work.
And again, as you can see, we have a pretty hefty capital budget this year, and we try to spread it as much as possible, and it's naturally worked out that way, given the estimates that we need to get. Other questions? Yes?
I think you indicated that resident members' base dues for 2020 will be $365. I think from your one slide, you also said country club members' base dues will be $215. Can you help us understand the difference between resident members paying $365 and country club members paying $215?
Well, we're resident members, we own the assets. This is our island, this is our property.
She's asking why the country club dues are lower than, base dues are lower than the resident.
The base,
Base fee.
Country club members are paying less than the residents. Why? That's the question.
Yeah. Is that your question?
Lori, help me?
In 2013, and you can help if you would like, 2013, we looked at, or 2014, we looked at separating or making the country club membership a cafeteria plan also. Their dues were, do you remember, their dues were significantly lower. So we had to kind of fiddle with the base dues and then add tennis, golf, and to kind of make sure that it balanced out with what they were paying and didn't have a huge increase. Does that?
In essence, they pay more for the event.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to find. We had some slides that we moved out of here. I think we moved them out of here.
Let me add to that. Basically, country club members not living here, living on the property, generally speaking, use the property much less frequently than the resident members here. So our theory is to keep it market competitive. We charge less for the base dues, but we charge the country club members more for the amenity packages that they buy, more than a resident member.
There, as you can see, they're unlimited, and their various packages are priced higher than our resident packages are.
Our unlimited golf is $430 next year versus $477.
For that. So that demonstrates the concept that we use for pricing of base dues versus amenity dues.
And that premium goes down the line for all the,
Thank you, Gary.
okay, sorry, I didn't understand your question initially. Other questions? Going once. Going twice. Thank you very much for your time and attention.